Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I kind of want to have one of these social commentary videos where I discuss part of the problems that we run into in the fitness world, the lifting world, all of that. And it's this big debate I've been seeing lately on social media about how many calories you actually burn as a result of gaining muscle mass. And the problem is that what you're seeing is a lot of the evidence-based people, and particularly their followers, many of whom, when you look at the people who are then making the arguments, they're obviously non-lifters. Now, I'm not saying they don't go to the gym and play with some weights a little bit, but they are very obviously non-lifters. And they make arguments of semantics that are completely irrelevant to the real world. Like it's the sort of argument you would only make when working on your doctoral work that you will never be able to apply to a single athlete that you train for your entire life. And that's this whole debate of how many calories a pound of muscle adds to your BMR, basically your resting metabolic rate. And you have some of these experts who will say, well, it's around 5 calories per pound, that's the most. And then you see the bros who are saying, no, it seems to be more like 50. Well, who's right? Well, they're both right. People would say, what? They're both right in the context of what they are measuring. Meaning a lot of the bros notice that, if someone gains about 10 pounds of muscle, their maintenance calories seems to go up at least 500 calories, if not more. Because in the real world, we can't measure resting metabolic rate or base metabolic rate. We can't use that number. It's a completely meaningless number outside of academia and in a laboratory. We have no way to assess it or measure it or even utilize it. Like there is no way to actually even apply that number to any athlete or client that you're training. So they actually have no way to even measure it. And you know what? It absolutely doesn't matter. It has no meaning. It has no meaning outside of a clinical or laboratory environment. It should be something we don't even discuss. We come over to the point then of the other people, and the evidence says, well, no, it only seems to be around 5 calories. You guys are talking about the training, and you're talking about NEAT and EPOC and all these things. That's what's adding up. And it's like, well, the question becomes, does it matter? Does it really matter? When you are dealing with yourself as an athlete, or you're dealing with athletes or clients that you are coaching or training, does it really and truly matter where the caloric burn comes from when you are calculating their calories if you can't stop it? In other words, if you have someone put on 20 pounds of lean tissue over the course of time as an athlete, how are you going to only get them to burn an extra 100 calories a day? Like, how are you going to restrict their activity and their training and everything to maintain that base metabolic rate increase and no more from the muscle? Well, you can't. It's not possible. You could strap them to a bed, right? Or you could, give them sedatives and put them in a coma. That would do it. But your athletes, when they're not in the gym, you don't have the legal ability to strap them to a bed for the other 22 hours a day and immobilize them. It's not legal to do so. So therefore, there is no application of that number. And people want to argue it purely for the point of arguing something that has zero application in the real world when dealing with actual clients. And in fact, you even knowing it is a waste of your time. Again, unless you're doing your doctoral work on it. Right? If you're doing that and you're going to get a paper for it and get published, that's fine. But you can't apply it. It's useless. It's a useless piece of information that has no value. Because in the real world, athletic people who really train, and I'm talking they're squatting multiple times a week, doing GPP work, or even just straight lifting. Let's say you don't do any cardio or conditioning. People who lift heavy, and I don't mean come in and do a bro workout where they train their legs once a week. I mean people who really train. Your energy turnover goes up tremendously. Now, the problem you have is that, again, you will see other people will make the arguments. And Omar Issoff did this on his channel. Well, deadlift only burns X amount of calories. You only burn like 10 calories on one set of deadlifts. So, they'll start arguing that if you've gained 20 pounds of muscle and That's 100 calories of extra metabolic rate turnover, but then even a really heavy set of deadlifts only burns like about 10 calories tops. So even if you only burn 200 calories from your lifting on average every day, that's only a 300 calorie increase. Right? And that sounds good. That sounds real good if you're arguing a point of academia. But that doesn't translate to what actually happens with real people who train hard. Their energy intake doesn't just go up 300 calories. It goes up 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories, 2,000 calories. And it has to do with all the effects of this stuff. It has to do with the energy turnover as regards to their lifting itself. Because I don't think people realize sometimes how much total training volume, people who really train, I'm not talking about a guy who goes and does a bro split and has an arm day and only trains his legs once a week. I'm talking about people who really come in and do significant volumes of training on the big lifts. I don't think you realize how many calories they burn. Probably more than you think it is. And you deal with the epoch effect. Then we get over to the interesting thing regarding NEAT, right? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Well, if you take someone who squats 400, 450, 500 pounds, they have a lot of lower body mass. They have a lot of really metabolically active tissue in their lower body. And a lot of times people will look at that sort of thing and say, well, okay, I could see how that increases their base metabolic rate, but what does it do for anything else? You consider how much actual energy someone like that burns cleaning their kitchen. It's not the same as your grandmother burns. In other words, if your 55-year-old non-lifting grandmother who's sedentary outside of that cleans her kitchen and sweeps her floor or does her laundry or just any activity, right? Just normal activities, she's only going to burn a certain amount of calories. Do you have any idea how many calories a 500-pound squatter burns cleaning the kitchen? I can assure you it's not just a little bit more than her. It could be amazingly more than her. Literally getting up and doing normal, just you would think of as some day-to-day activities. Just daily activities, daily regiment. Taking a walk. Someone who's really strong can easily burn sometimes 500 extra calories in a day doing the exact same movements and activity. Then you have to factor in the fact that people who are strong and have a high work capacity tend to just move more. They tend to just move more. In general, they're more active. They have a higher work capacity. They can maintain different leisurely activities without realizing that they might be more than leisurely activities for other people, and then they're just normal. They tend to be, again, just more active. They're more likely to go, take the trash out. Instead of taking the elevator down from the apartment, they might just take stairs with the trash bag. Why not? They just run down the stairs and back up. They give it an extra fling when they throw that bag. It starts translating to just a lot more activity. What you find is that athletic people, particularly strong people who've gained a lot of muscle, they burn a hell of a lot more calories just doing the same activities, but they're more likely to just mindlessly do more little small activities. And it really adds up a lot. To the point to where I've watched young men who you start training them who have a maintenance calories or they're bulking on 2,500 calories at the start, and they keep gaining muscle and keep gaining strength, and before long they're up to 3,200 calories and they can't gain weight anymore. You eventually start finding that some of these guys, and these are oftentimes guys doing no cardio, no drugs, start stalling at 3,500 calories, especially if they have a job. I've watched drug-free, healthy young men who now have 5 years of serious lifting under their belt who compete in powerlifting. I've seen examples of them who need 4,500 calories a day just to maintain their body weight because they also have a job to where they stand 40 hours a week. And that job with someone who has that high of an energy turnover and that high of a NEAT, who's even doing zero cardio, they can't maintain their 215-pound body weight on only 4,000 calories. They start losing weight. But then you look at it and go, but their base metabolic rate only went up 100, 120 calories. How could that be? Because your total energy turnover is dependent upon a lot more than your base metabolic rate. Your base metabolic rate is probably the single least important number regarding your total TDEE. It's almost irrelevant. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.